What's up everyone, my name is Cam. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you're all having a magnificent week. Today I'm going over a niche fragrance house that I don't think gets quite enough love, especially for the value that you get and the variety that you get. Without any further ado, let's get into this. So obviously by now you've clicked on the thumbnail, you know I'm talking about Mancera, and Mancera is, wow, an amazing house, especially for the money. Most of them great performance, a lot of variety, and something for everybody's taste and will not break the bank. Just like the one I call the Outlaw.
He's local, my friend.
Oh, good, we got a Mexican.
This one is Gold Incense. Now, of course, when you think incense, a lot of us think about, like a darker nuance. Now, obviously, if you've burned incense, you know that they come in an assortment and variety. I used to burn incense all the time. I don't really dig like the smoke in the house, so I usually just use like melts or, different types of air fresheners in the house. But yeah, I used to use incense all the time. A lot of people use it for religious reasons. So a lot of times people automatically draw to that darkness and that mysteriousness, even warding off evil spirits. But this Outlaw right here, and the reason I call it Outlaw is because you think about that darkness. This is a much more mass appealing fragrance than anybody would even think of. It has a freshness with mandarin, it has a spiciness with some pink pepper. That violet is really, really smooth. Compliment garnering, one of my most complimented Manceras easily. This has insane projection, insane performance, a very, very unique fragrance that pulls a ton of compliments. Now, other than that fresh and spicy opening that you're gonna get, this dries down with a beautiful, smooth vanilla, musk, and sandalwood dry down. Not at all what you would expect from a fragrance that's called Gold Incense. And because of this fragrance being so underrated and the title of the fragrance being a tad bit misleading, even though the incense is just a nice depth adder to this fragrance, it's an outlaw for sure. It's just completely unexpected, does not play by the rules at all. Now the next fragrance I'm gonna label the Gambler.
So am I.
The reason I call it the Gambler, it's a deep, creamy, woody, floral, vanilla fragrance that absolutely works. And of course, when you're gambling, you're taking risks. Yeah, it does have some florals in here. I'm talking about Black Vanilla. Now, Black Vanilla is a very, very nice vanilla fragrance that does not get a ton of love. I do, see it talked about from time to time, but another one that completely flies under the radar. Now, Black Vanilla is completely unisex, but depending on what type of body it's being sprayed on, whether it's a woman or a man, it carries a completely different scent profile. Now, if you look at the notes, there's a lot of creamy fruits on the top. You've got like black currant, you also have some peach, and then those florals in the mids like violet and jasmine just completely transform this into a very delectable vanilla without going like full on into the gourmand territory. Now this also carries a little bit of brightness on the top with bergamot and more creaminess with coconut, and then a beautiful vanilla and musk dry down. If you haven't tried Black Vanilla, I would highly recommend this fragrance. It is perfect actually year round. It's a fragrance that, even though it has some depth and some dimension and has a lot going on to be just a vanilla fragrance, it's anything but plain Jane vanilla. Now the next fragrance I'm going to call the Assassin. Because of the opening and the performance, you guys might know what I'm talking about. It's a sexy, spicy tobacco fragrance. It is Red Tobacco. Now, Red Tobacco has a very complicated opening if you're not used to it. It's, it's got a lot going on. It might be a little much. So yeah, an Assassin might be a little much, but then at the same time, Assassins can be mysterious and sexy, and that's exactly how Red Tobacco is. Now in the opening, you're gonna catch a ton of different notes, As I said, it can be complicated if you're not used to this opening, but it's extremely spicy. You get some cinnamon mixed with some saffron. You're also going to get some peach, apple, and a little bit of oud. So it has a lot of body right out the gates. Now that oud is not going to be like that overly animalic barnyard oud, so please do not let that even bother you whatsoever. It's just a nice woodiness that gives it more depth. And then of course on the dry down, what goes with tobacco about as good as anything? Vanilla, absolutely. Vanilla, musk, tobacco on the dry down. There's a lot more notes in this, but that's primarily what I get out of this fragrance. Insane projection, insane performance. I don't know, I've actually even seen some people say that, oh, I don't get that performance, I don't get that projection. On my skin anyway, it is absolute beastly and an assassin if there's ever been one. The next fragrance I call the Warrior. It's a deep, dark, spicy, rich, decadent, and balsamic, almost resinous vanilla fragrance. It is AOUD Vanille. I've been talking about this fragrance for a long time. I love this fragrance. It's one of my favorite vanilla fragrances and one of the best from Mancera. Now they have a lot of vanilla fragrances, so there's a lot to choose from. You've got like a vanilla exclusive, you have velvet vanilla, there's tons and tons in the catalog, but I really like this. There's a sexiness about it, there's a mysteriousness about it, and it's not your everyday run-of-the-mill vanilla fragrance. In the mids, you're gonna get a really nice but subtle floral nuance that comes through that actually just adds some nice dimension to this. And then on the dry down, you're gonna get a slightly powdery sandalwood mixed with a darker vanilla. Now it's not gonna be like super thick and rich sticky vanilla, but it just adds a perfect dimension to make this a very, very sexy fragrance. AOUD Vanille for me really shines in the fall and in the winter, but you could get away with it in the springtime. I think this is a perfect date night fragrance. It's actually worked for me on numerous occasions, but I would still recommend trying it before you buy it. So the next fragrance I'm calling the Tracker, because of the scent trail that it leaves behind, and if anybody smells it, they're going to be tracking you, or you might be tracking people while you're wearing this, because it's going to make you attractive while you're tracking. Now they boast this fragrance with the 1, 2, 3 punch of jasmine, rose, and amber, but yes, it does have that little bit of BR 540 thing going on. It is instant crush. Now, when this came out, it was an instant success. There was people loving on this thing, and then 6 to 8 months down the road, they completely forgot about it. But what they shouldn't have forgot is the performance, the depth, the sexiness, the versatility of this fragrance is just completely mind-blowing. You can get away with wearing this almost year-round. I have rocked this in the summer. It is a bit much like in the super high heat. I mean, like, 100 degrees, extremely high humidity, like when you're walking outside and mosquitoes get stuck to your face and you slap one and about 4 quarts of blood comes out. Yeah, that's how it does here in North Carolina. But if you can deal with, moderately high heat, this will work year-round. Absolute stunner of a day scent, and even much more sexier evening scent. This does really shine in the colder weather, but again, can completely pass for spring and summer as long as you don't get in that nauseating heat. Now on the top, you're going to get some citrus, some ginger, some saffron, with a little hint of that jasmine and rose, but that jasmine and rose more or less carries into the mids, and that saffron is going to give you that BR 540 vibe as it blends with these other notes. Then on the dry down, you're going to get a super stunningly sexy sandalwood, vanilla, and musk dry down. If you have yet to try Instant Crush, it will be an instant crush when you do. The next fragrance I'm calling the Sharpshooter.
A sense we are bonded.
This one is absolutely perfect for spring and summer, but has enough depth that can be worn year-round as a signature scent. But oh man, what a great summertime fragrance. Don't you hate it when you get a summertime fragrance that just peters off in no time? This one you can wear with a lot of depth and performance, but not be too much. It is AOUD Lemon Mint. And yes, this fragrance was inspired by a Cuban cocktail where you've got lemon and mint And again, don't let that oud or AOUD throw you off. This is a full-bodied, I mean, just like crosshairs wherever you want it. Sharpshooter if there's ever been one. Absolutely perfect for the high heat. Every time I wear this, it takes me back to a beach trip that I took with my son. It was just like right as we were getting, you know, about the mid-spring. It was still a bit chilly in the evenings, but a lot warmer during the day. And this is perfect for that. It even has a little bit of a sexiness. So this one has lemon, spices, a little bit of oud just to add a little bit of depth. Then it also has jasmine, mint, musk, a little bit of leather, and vanilla. Now, of course, you will notice some of these notes kind of coming up over and over again. Jasmine and vanilla and oud is something that is in a lot of the Mancera fragrances, but it doesn't get redundant. For whatever reason, they know how to mix whatever notes they need to make each fragrance sing by itself and make each of those notes work differently for each fragrance. This is one of my absolute favorite must-have summer staples, AOUD Lemon Mint. Last but not least is the Bounty Hunter.
You know how to shoot that thing.
And the reason I'm calling the Bounty Hunter is because, hey, if there's a bounty on the ladies, you're going to be the hunter. And hey, I know some ladies that like to wear this as well and go after the men. Now, in my personal opinion and from feedback that I have got from some ladies, even though this is considered a unisex fragrance, as is all of the Mancera fragrances, this one, in my personal opinion, still leans a little bit masculine. It's probably one of the most popular and controversial fragrances for Mancera. Yes, it is Cedrat Boise. And the reason that I say that it's controversial is because you've got some people on one side of the aisle that say, oh, it sucks, Mancera sucks, it doesn't have performance. And then you've got other people like, bro, for the money, this is a great fragrance. I get great performance, or I wish it had a little better performance, or whatever, the same stuff that you would hear when we're talking about INCENSE, right? Some of you talk about how crappy the performance is, how some of you hate it. This is in the same wheelhouse. It has a lot of similar notes. But yes, maybe it was inspired, more than likely inspired by INCENSE, but those of you who have smelled INCENSE and Cedrat Boise, they both have a very distinctive dry down. But for those of you who have smelled a full dry down from INCENSE and Cedrat Boise, you can smell one on one arm and one on the other and be like, okay, that's INCENSE, that's Cedrat Boise. It is not a clone, it's not identical, it does kind of do its own thing. Cedrat Boise is a lot creamier than INCENSE is. Where INCENSE stays a little bit more effervescent, this stays creamier. For those of you who have not smelled both fragrances, when you read the notes of both, you'll see a lot of mirroring notes. Some of those being citrus, black currant, patchouli, oat moss, vanilla. Yes, it does mirror very similar to INCENSE, but again, it's doing a totally different thing. They added leather to this, and it has a different opening. The mids are even different. The dry down's even different. So if you like INCENSE, you'll love Cedrat Boise, especially if money happens to be an issue. Now, all of Mancera's fragrances at full retail are $180. If you go to like Mancera's website or some of these other online stores that by contract have to sell these fragrances at the same price that Mancera does. But these are available in the gray market at discounters on eBay. Sometimes you can find these fragrances anywhere from $80 to $120 and sometimes even cheaper. And for 120 mLs of a niche fragrance, that is hard to beat. So that's going to wrap it up for my Magnificent 7 from Mancera. Let me know down in the comments, what is your favorite Mancera fragrance or fragrances, or your Magnificent 7 Mancera fragrances. Until next time, I'll see you on Carolina Fragrance Reviews.